Hello everyone, welcome back to round 5 of a modern league with Bushwhacker Zoo. We're on the play for this first game of round 5, so let's go ahead and see what we managed to do. We kept a hand with 2 lands, 2 2 red 1-drops, and a Thalia. A little surprised to see that we didn't get the Sacred Foundry. That's definitely a mistake. Let's see if it comes back to haunt us or not. Oh, we actually didn't have a fetch land, so we were forced into keeping no white source. But I think the hand is probably good enough, considering that the majority of our deck, there's only 1 card that's white left in it. Every draw we have should be live, because it either enables us to play our white cards, or it's going to be a red and green card. So just continuing to develop our board here, swinging with the Goblin Guide because we know we have the Curdate back to block this turn. We're once again playing against Burn, so it's important for us to keep our life total in mind, as well as quickly deal as much damage to them as possible. Once our opponent begins bolting off our creatures, we're in much better shape than we would be previously because they do have the reach in the situation. So if by some miracle the board does stall out, they would be advantaged in a board stall situation. Drawing that Arid Mesa is good for us because if you notice, our opponent missed their land drop, so being able to play out this Thalia is going to be great in this game. It's even probably worth shocking to accomplish. Not playing it out before combat was a mistake because it allows them to trade their Goblin Guide for our Wild Nacatl. So we should have definitely played that Arid Mesa out ahead there. Very, very clearly making a lot of mistakes in this league, whether it's the mulligan decisions in the first 2 rounds, or even just not playing a land when we should have this game. However, Thalia is still going to pretty much seal up this game unless they find some lands here soon. Opponent playing a Monastery Swift Spear because it is not taxed by Thalia. We decided to keep Goblin Guide back this turn just to conserve our life total. We're really in the driver's seat with this Boros Charm, the mana to cast it, and 2 creatures on board, as well as our opponent's lands being taxed while we sit here free to cast our spells. Our opponent doesn't attack indicates that they don't have a 1-drop instant or sorcery spell, because then they'd be forced to trade with the Goblin Guide. They suspend a Rift Bolt. We'll go ahead and just reveal that real quick. Curdape's a pretty good draw for us. I imagine we're going to attack out here because we'll have the Curdape back on blocks. And if our opponent wants to block at any point, they have to trade. This Rift Bolt is likely going to hit our Thalia based on our opponent's mana situation. So we'll play out the Curdape, and then our plan is to hold up Boros Charm to give Thalia indestructible whenever he casts the Rift Bolt. Ultimately, though, we'd be attacking for 4 on the swing back, so as long as our opponent doesn't draw a removal spell, a land, and have another removal spell in hand, we win the game. So I think we'll just go ahead and let Thalia die, which we did, and then we should wait on this Boros Charm until we attack. But we didn't. So again, I think some sequencing errors in that game. However, we did manage to get there. We'll move on to game 2. Sideboarding for Burn is normally pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead and try to decode it from this sideboard option on the replay. So yeah, we definitely brought in the 2 Kitchen Finks and the Dragon's Claw, and we brought out 2 Gore Clan Rampagers, 2 Mutagenic Growths, so we also brought in a Scavenging Ooze. So that's exactly how we boarded for this particular matchup. We are on the draw here. Our hand is great against burn with a Thalia, a Scavenging Ooze, and a Kitchen Finks, as well as some early game pressure in the 2/1 drops. So our opponent leading on a creature, as burn usually does. We are going to be fetching the majority of our basics during this game. Since we have a Thalia, we are prized into fetching a white source at some point in time. But in general, the idea with the main board is that you don't have to fetch your white source against burn. You can just fetch your basics. It just didn't work out quite that way for us this game. That's the theory behind Kitchen Finks as well, over something like Blessed Alliance or any number of white cards that gain you life, is that in a pinch you can just fetch Basic Forest. It's the same reason we're running 2 Basic Forests, that in addition to the fact that we want to have a number of basics against decks with Path that will ramp us. Our opponent once again missing their land drop, and we are right there to punish them with Thalia. They suspend Rift Bolt. Our Thalia is safe to attack in because Monastery Swiftspear cannot get prowess this turn. We're going to play Kitchen Finks. It was probably incorrect to play that quite this way. We probably should have gone Burning Tree Emissary, Kitchen Finks. But it's best to get the Kitchen Finks out now while they don't have Skullcrack up. So that part is important. That's probably what we were thinking, and why we didn't just go straight for the Burning Tree Emissary before the Kitchen Finks. This is going to hit Thalia, no doubt, so that our opponent can begin casting spells again. And Monastery Swiftspear has prowess, and our opponent hits their land drop this turn. So things are turning around for our opponent. They don't seem to be interested in trading Monastery Swiftspear for half a Kitchen Finks and us gaining some life, which I can't say I blame them for. We're continuing to draw lands, which isn't great for us, but luckily our starting hand was good enough that we will be fine, at least for the next 2 turns. We can actually play out our entire hand right now if we sequence it correctly, but I doubt that's what we're going to do because we want to have as much green mana up as possible, at least 2 green mana whenever we play the Scavenging Ooze. So we'll want to be at 4 lands when we play the Scavenging Ooze ideally. That way it can live through a Bolt or any 3 damage effect from burn. Our opponent having Searing Blaze, which is one of the best cards for them in this particular matchup, affecting the board, dealing damage to us, and triggering prowess on their Monastery Swiftspear. Taking out our best blocker, we're going to be forced to take the 2 damage from the Monastery Swiftspear, dropping us to 8 and forcing our Scavenging Ooze play next turn. Note, we did crack our fetch and go get a green source. Atarka's command currently represents 5 damage on its own, so 5 and 5 is 10, so we're going to be playing the Scavenging Ooze out here. The fetch is actually net equal because we'll lose 1 life to go get our other basic forest, but then we'll gain that life back immediately from Scavenging Ooze. This is because there are 3 creatures in the graveyard. And we're just going to go ahead and once again do all that while our opponent is tapped out of Skullcrack range. So we now have a 5/5 on the board and are back up to 10 life with lethal in hand. Our opponent just passes, which is great news for us. Technically, they could have had some combination of 1 mana burn spells if we had not blocked with the Scavenging Ooze, but we definitely would have. And here, all we have to do is go to combat, attack with everything, Our opponent blocks the Scavenging Ooze, so he would go to 1 with no effects. However, we're going to cast this. We actually allowed our opponent to go to damage. However, they declined. They decided to cast a Lightning Bolt before damage. That way they can finish off our Scavenging Ooze, I'm assuming. Yeah, so they're going to finish off our Scavenging Ooze. The reason we did this was because we still had lethal with the Tarka's command post-combat. So we put it on our opponent to make the first move, and now with this Atarka's command, we're able to save our Scavenging Ooze. Not that it's relevant because our opponent's dead here, but that is, I believe, the correct sequencing for that series of plays. So that's the end of round 5. We actually came out positive in the league at 3-2, so it's not exactly the kind of record we'd like to see, but for the first time playing Zoo on MTGO, and having the mulligan issues that we did in the first 2 games, I'd say it turned out pretty well. If you guys are interested in seeing more videos with this deck, please leave a comment below. I'll be coming back on Sunday with a league I recorded with my blue-black standard control deck. I believe I've already got that saved and edited, so that should be coming out this Sunday. Thank you guys for watching. As always, any constructive criticism, please leave it in the chat or in the comment below, with timestamps if possible. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.